All right, welcome. My name is Brandon, or as you know me from this channel, Amid, and I am presenting you with Streetball Allstar. This game has taken my heart. I found it on Instagram. I was laying in bed scrolling before work. I was depressed, and then I found this game, and this has taken over my life. Now, I don't want to scare you. This is not an evil game. This is a great game. I really love it, and I've luckily not poured too much money into it yet, but that may change. Listen, that's just life. We like to spend money on things that we like. But anyway, so Streetball Allstar is a 3-on-3 basketball game, and I don't really like sports. So when I saw the ad originally, I was gonna swipe by, but then I saw the mechanics, and the mechanics for a mobile game seemed like kind of insane. And I don't have a background in mobile games. I mostly play PC games, and also not even sports-based, which I don't know if I said that right, but I am not a sports fan. I just saw how clean and how crisp the mechanics were, and I had to see if it was like that in the app, and oh my god, this game, I think it should be a console game, really. It's so clean. It's just, the game should not be as good as it is, in my opinion. And again, I don't even like sports, but I cannot express to you how much I enjoy this game. So basically, it's a gacha, right? It has gacha mechanics, but the developers are, in my opinion, very generous with what they give you. They give you a lot of resources as a beginner, which most gachas do. But a lot of gachas have like a new player system where when you first sign up, they'll give you a lot of packs, and in terms of like monetary value, super high value. They're giving you a lot of resources in the beginning just to obviously try and get you into it, and so that you're able to progress in the game quick enough where you're not getting discouraged, like, I'm so weak, it's taking so long to progress, it's gonna be so expensive, etc. So I'm starting a fresh account for this video and for the following videos. I plan on making this a series. I don't know how long yet. I'm just kind of getting into this idea now. I originally was going to hire an editor, but then the editor I spoke with basically said what I was looking to do is real simple, so I might as well do it myself. Hey, if I'm going to save some money, that's great. But yeah, so basically, this game, in my opinion, is very team-based, and some people would find that to be a detracting value, but I think that's what makes the game super, super fun. In a lot of games that I've played that are multiplayer, it's always been the case, or a lot of time been the case, that one player who's really, really talented can just solo carry their team. And even in high ranks, right? It exists in any ELO in most games. In this game, I think even at the highest ELO, when you look at the ladder, the people who are playing at the very, very top, they almost always have pre-made teams. You're queuing up with the same people over and over again, and that's because it's really, really difficult to play this game on your own. It's because everything is reliant on your team, and you have to have cohesion, and it's what makes games, like, I have found myself like not breathing in the middle of a game so many times, and I'm just like, why am I out of breath? It's such a great game. It keeps you on the edge of your seat, or in my case, now that I have a little, like, it's like a controller for your phone. So you plug your phone into like this controller, and it's basically like emulates like an Xbox controller, any sort of like, you know, gaming device controller, and I can now play in bed. It's so fun. Like, I feel like when you're using your hands to control the analog stick and the buttons, I feel like you have to be sitting up to do that. It feels like it's a bit too involved to be doing that laying down, but now with controller, easily laying down, playing that before work. So it's awesome. I want to just get into basically how the game works. So you see the gameplay in the background, right? Gameplay looks great, really smooth. This again on mobile. This is and I'm recording my screen. Do you think there'd be some latency? Nothing. No. It's just like this in game too. It's insane. So I'm not glazing this game. I'm not being paid for this. I genuinely just love this game so much. But anyway, so this game is, you start off as I am here, and you're given a couple of characters for free. I think 3. I think it's a shooter, a big, and actually maybe I think it's a center big Mike, then it's a small forward and a shooting guard. So you're given those 3. And they then give you a lot of free resources, and you now need to figure out what role you like, what direction you want your account to go in, whether you think you want to be a competitive player, if you want to play for fun, if you want to be a collector. You have all these different decisions to make, and that'll dictate how you use your resources. So just to briefly go over, just in case anybody's not familiar with basketball, because I wasn't myself until I got into the game, there are 5 roles. So there's the point guard, who's mostly like the facilitator. Usually they're smaller, they're moving around the court to draw pressure from the defense, they're passing a lot, sometimes they're setting screens, sometimes they're shooting. They're basically the team captain. Then you have the shooting guard and the small forward. They're usually going to be the ones that are scoring, whether shooting from the perimeter, shooting mid-range, dunking, layups, right? They're going to have a lot of tools to score, and they'll be a little bit less impressive on defense. So same with the point guard, right? They usually be able to steal the ball pretty well, but in terms of blocking and like covering shooters or dunkers, like it's going to be really, really low. Then you have the bigs, as they're referred to on Streetballs. That's the centers and the power forwards. Usually the power forwards are going to be more geared towards dunking, and some of them can shoot from the perimeter. It's not most of them. I think it's only a couple like Elise, and I don't really play the role, so I don't know the names, but it's not often that they can do that. Usually it's just dunking and shooting close range. Centers, in my experience, are not the best at dunking. Usually they're strictly for defense, so grabbing rebounds, blocking, like they have the tools to do that, and I think they're usually not the best dunkers. I mean, you know, this would be fine if you need to get a dunk, but I've seen a lot of dunkers fail, even in high lobbies. Like I'm playing in competitive lobbies, and the centers will just mess up dunks a lot of time. I think it's because they're not super geared towards that. So when you first start the game, you kind of have to figure out what role you think you'd like the best. Realistically, when you're first starting, you will not have the resources to have a competitive character in every role. It takes a good amount of time to get there, and I'll explain to you why in a bit. I'm going to have some screenshots on the screen to show you what I'm talking about, but you just first need to figure out what role you want to play, you know, and what direction you want your account to go in. If you think you're somebody that wants to really grind the ladder and climb, and you want to get to a high rank, then that's one thing. If you think you just want to play for fun, or if you just want to collect things in the game, that's a whole other way to go about it. So I think I'm going to get into right now probably my guide for a new player who's just getting into it, the exact steps that I would take as a new player. Okay, so basically, as you can see in the background if you've been paying attention, when you first start off the game, there is a tab called Mission. So Mission will tell you what you need to do to be given a certain reward. And in the earlier missions, they're usually really simple. Win a match, score X amount of points, to go like another player, right? They're usually really simple requirements. And it gives you a lot of resources. You just need to be smart about it, right? Like, you don't want to be trying to just brute force your way through all of the missions at once. A lot of them you'll just kind of naturally do as you're progressing through the game anyway. So I would say just every time you're about to queue up, just look at the missions, see what missions you have. A lot of these missions you can even complete in the Street Legends mode, which is the next part of what I was going to say. So basically, there's another mode called Street Legends. Street Legends is just a series of you versus NPC rounds, and each one has stipulations. So very similar to the missions, actually, where one will say, okay, get 3 rebounds in this game and score 2 3-pointers. Simple. And the third one is always like win, right? So you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone here, right? You can go into Street Legends, look first at your missions, see what missions you have, and if there's anything in there related to scoring or whatever you want to, or winning, right? That I think win streak also counts in Street Legends, so you can accomplish that in Street Legend. So you want to just be looking at both, right? When you're first starting out, you don't want to do more work than you have to. It becomes tedious. I'm not gonna lie to you, right? Nobody wants to keep beating up computers all day to progress their character. And it's not going to take all day. I'm exaggerating, but I just found when I first started, I just tried brute forcing it, and I was like, oh my god, now I have to go back and do all these things. I could have done that when I was doing Street Legend, right? Because you also need to claim your reward from the mission before you can progress to the next one. So it's really super worth it to just look at the missions and coordinate how you're going to go about your day of playing the game. So that's the beginning, and you just want to be collecting as much resources as possible. The next thing is what I was talking about earlier, the packs, the new player packs. They give you the most insane value imaginable when it comes to the new player packs. Anything on the rookie page you are getting something. I don't know percentage-wise. I'm not a mathematician. I'm not that smart. I've not done the math. Maybe it says, but I would imagine in the 300 to 400% value of what or how far your dollar would typically go. It says right there 650%. So it's higher. It is insanely high value, and if you start the game and you say, oh, I think I'm gonna really like this game, just get it. Don't wait, because it does not last forever, and you will then realize how expensive it would be to do it afterwards. So everything, you need to just take advantage of it. If you're not going to get anything else, get the recharge for it's $1. Get the recharge for $1. It gives you so much value. It is insane. And just starting this account again, I'm like, damn, I wish this was the shop all the time. So I would highly recommend that you check out the rookie shop. You check out the limited time offers that they give you, and also get the elite pass. It's a non-negotiable. If you're playing the game, you're getting the elite pass. And I'm sorry, I think anybody who doesn't get the elite pass just has zero idea of how games like this work, and you're doing yourself a disservice. You will spend countless more hours trying to farm the resources that they're giving you for such a cheap price. Anytime I see somebody in chat who's saying something like, oh, you have the crown next to your name, you bought the pass, you spent money in this game. Well, it's like, okay, but your time is worth something, right? Time is worth money. Your time has money attached to it. So anytime somebody says you spend money, it's like, it's such a silly comment to have, because, well, your time is an investment is like a money investment as well. Like, I'm going to sit there for 4 hours farming resources I could have gotten by spending $7. Well, I mean, how much is my time worth then? Is it worth that little? It's crazy. So don't be silly. It's not a bad thing to spend some money on a game that you're enjoying. People spend money in way crazier ways than a couple bucks on a game like this. And I may be a bad person to ask, because in every game I've played, I've always been the type to get things that I like. And battle passes in any game are always high value. That is obvious for anybody who plays games. Battle pass is always going to be super high value, and I think people who even typically do not spend money on anything always get the battle pass, just because it does not make sense to not get it. So that is my 2 cents about how I would recommend starting the game, and then I'm just going to have some general advices here, where I'm going to say, please, before you spend any amount of your resources, whether it's your energy gels to upgrade abilities, whether it's your gems, whether it's anything, you need to look through the characters. Look through the characters, look through the roles and the positions. You need to figure out what is going to be the role you think you'll most like, and which character do you think you'll most like. Because once you spend or invest your resources, you cannot get them back. At least as of right now. Maybe if they have events or something. I've only been playing the game for a couple months now, but maybe sometimes they have events where you can transfer those things over. That'd be great. But as it stands in the standard game, once you invest resources, they're gone. And you can very, very easily kind of bankroll your account through resources on roles or characters that you actually don't love. I would say just take the time. It takes a little bit to go through all of them, look at their abilities, even maybe like YouTube their gameplay. It is so beyond worth it, because you'll save yourself money, you'll save yourself heartache. It's just, you just have to spend the time to do that before anything else. I'm going to pause now and then go into the next section, which I'm going to talk about, like, actually, if you were taking the game seriously and you want to be competitive, what to expect. So in this game, since a lot of your strength is determined by your character progression, if you're entering the ranked mode and you have characters who are underdeveloped, just meaning that you've not put any resources into them, you've not invested into their strength, they're going to be at a baseline rather weak. If you're playing versus somebody, say you have a C tier champion, which C is just reflective of the current champion strength, right? So it goes C, B, A, S, SS, SSS, and then Ace. So if you're a C-tier champion, you're playing versus an ace champion, it's going to be a really difficult game for you. I'm not going to lie to you and say, oh, if you're amazing at the game, you could just beat an ace as a C-tier. It'd be really difficult, right? Like, it's possible, it'd be really hard. It's just a super big difference in statistics, because this game is stat-based, right? Like, when you're upgrading a character, their stats are going higher. When you're putting clothes on a character, their stats are going higher. Yeah. Most things involve their stats going higher, other than affixes, which I'll get into at some point. So you need to have that expectation that you cannot just go into ranked, lock in any character, and be able to be competitive. It's not realistic. Even versus bot lobbies, you might have a hard time, right? If your character has no upgrades, it would be difficult. So that's why I recommend in the beginning, play the modes that are designed for you not to be really strong. So that's going to be like your tutorial, the practice tool. It's going to be Street Legend. Take the time, explore the different roles, explore all of that, watch videos. Because to enter competitive, you need to have an upgraded unit. It's just not going to be a fun time either, right? Not only will it be difficult to win, it's going to be really unfun because it's going to be super hard to be playing the game, frankly. So keep that in mind when you're going into your ranked mode. So I think the second most important thing to talk about is that in this game, because this might impact the way that you decide to, play your account. In this game, at the higher end of ranked, there are metas, right? Like in any game, there's always meta that changes based on elo as well. So what's meta in low elo is not going to be what's meta in high elo, almost like 95% of the time. It's the same in this game. So when you're playing at lower ranks, you're going to see a lot of the same stuff. It's going to be a lot of shooters, a lot of centers, and point guards. So it's typically going to be a shooter, point guard, center. Real simple on both sides. And because it's lower rank, sometimes they don't care about team composition. They'll just play whatever they want. And then you'll have a weird matchup, and that's great because usually that means you're gonna win if it's not your team. If it's your team, go next. You lost. So in lower elo, it's typically gonna be really, really linear. Big guy, small guy, somebody to score. That's it. When you get to higher ranks, it actually can become a lot more nuanced when you'll get team comps that are aimed around doing something. So just a really common example is that you'll have team comp that's centered around dunking. So you'll have a point guard, you'll have a center, and you'll have a dunker, which is usually going to be a power forward. Sometimes a small forward, but most of the time it's a power forward. So that comp is, the entire playstyle is just feed the ball to the dunker, the big will try and screen for them, and the point guard's job is to try and dive for the ball on the floor if they miss the dunk or they get blocked. That's the entire strategy. And you're not ever going to see that in low elo. It's never going to happen. I think it's because, and I could be wrong, from my understanding, it probably is because getting a dunker upgraded is a bit more, takes more resources than it would to just get a shooter upgraded. I think it's just more resource heavy, so you don't see it until you get to the players who have had more time or maybe even just spent more to upgrade their units. It's not a low elo thing. You'll never see dunkers in low elo. Not never, but mostly not. And I would be considering that because if you think you'd be somebody who enjoys playing a power forward that's going to be dunking, and you think that would be your desired role, well, and then it's a bit awkward, right? Then you kind of just need to invest into, and this is something I'm going to get into now actually, which is great. You should be investing into units that you can use as assists. So basically in this game, you have units who serve as an assist unit. Just meaning that on your character, you go to the assist menu and you can put in all of these other units that you have and they bolster the stats of your unit. So I would say if you're playing a dunker, then you'd want to get other power forwards to have as assisters. If you're playing a dunk or a shooter, you want other shooters to bolster the stats of your shooter, right? They give you stats based off of their role. So I would say that's another really smart way to go about it. Since you need to eventually upgrade the characters that assist your main anyway, why not just do it at the beginning? And that's exactly what I'm doing this account. I'm upgrading Rocket, not because I plan on using Rocket, because I need him to be an ace, he becomes an assist unit for my real unit. And this account I'm trying to make a dunker account. So that is my my best recommendation is to do that. I think now I probably should get into, it probably is the best time just to get into the affixes, the system in general, how the system works. I will be putting up pictures as well, and we can go over that together. So in terms of strengthening your characters, we talked about assists. So those are units that you're going to have assisting your unit, and those are just through stats that they're getting from being an assist unit. So other ways are going to be through things called affixes. Now, one of the affixes is slightly more convenient than the other, and by slightly I mean way more convenient. So in this game you have clothes, and as you probably can see in the background of some of these scenes, there are outfits that I'm scrolling by, and those outfits provide stats. Now, when you go to upgrade those outfits, the first thing you're upgrading is just the base stats, which you can choose. So let's say I get a nice outfit for my center. The first thing we're going to do is choose the stats it gives. So I'll choose the stats that go along with a center stats. And then I'm going to invest some resources to bring the level of the gear up. So every level, let's say for a center, my gear is giving block power. Okay, so when I first just set it to block power, it gives me +2. Well, now when I upgrade it, it gives +3. Then it gives me +4, etc. And it caps at 7. So that is really nice though, because that gear is not specific to that unit. I can take my gear from my center and move it to another center. That's completely fine. You can do that, and people do that very often. They call that re-gearing. I'm going to go re-gear, I'm going to put my gear in somebody else, right? Whatever. So that's great. And with affixes, which I just mentioned, you can set affixes, or not set, but you're going to be like rolling resources to get affixes on your gear. And that stuff is just going to be associated with the gear itself, meaning that you can still just take the gear and put on whichever unit you'd like. So, in my opinion, and I'm sure many people would agree, getting affixes on gear is way more important than getting skin affixes, which is the other thing I'll get into. Skin affixes is when you have a character, you unlock a skin for that character, and then you start using paint dyes on that character, and you're basically trying to get affixes, which is just another word for like a bonus or like a buff. You're trying to get affixes on the skin itself. Now that's not transferable, right? If I have a skin for a certain character, that is tied to that character only. So if you're getting affixes for that, that's just for that one character. Now that, of course, is going to be a lot less helpful in general because you cannot transfer it to anybody else on your roster. So I would almost always recommend, if you're going to start upgrading your units, start with the gear. That's not always a choice, right? You're just going to, a lot of times, use the resources you have. Maybe you don't have enough tokens, which is what you'd use to upgrade your gear, to get affixes on it. And maybe you have a ton of spray paint. So the order of which it happens, I'm just saying, if you're going to invest real-life money on doing so, you would start with the gear almost always. And then the skin affixes, I think, is less important just because it's not universal, whereas the gear is. So I would say that, and I guess that's also a good way to get into the resources. So in the game, you can see at the top of the screen, on the home screen, that I have a ton of gold, which is the thing on the top left, or not top left, but the left side of the top right panel. You can see the coins, 23,500. I have diamonds next to it, and then next to that are gems, my bad. They're gems. All of them are useful. All of them are super useful. And I would not recommend wasting any of it because you always need all three of them. Now, gems are usually something you have to purchase. So you'd be buying gems, and those are going to be... You could use gems for almost anything in the game. Super, super high value. They are going to get you really far in the game. If you have gems, that's great. Now, the second most valuable is definitely the diamonds. The diamonds you can use to exchange for resources in the game. So say you go to the shop, you want to buy some upgrade cards, which you'd use to upgrade a unit. Well, you can buy those, you can unlock those with your gems. So gems, in my opinion, would be the second highest value, and gold is last, even though it's still not. Gold is still super important because you need gold for anything. Any type of upgrade you're doing, you're using gold. Gold is super, super high value. So all of them are super valuable, but they're probably in descending order of the most impactful, right? Coins, least, diamonds, mid, and then the gems, high. So that's what it comes to the materials. And I mean, there are other materials as well that are tied to the gacha mechanics. So you have like tickets, which is what I've shown you in this video now, how you would pull things, whether it's units or it's clothes. You use tickets to get those, and you're given a lot of tickets for free by the game. The only thing I should have mentioned earlier that I did not is that when you first start, and always, by the way, and I've shown it if you've been watching the background, I guess you would have noticed, there's always missions that you have aside from the mission tab. Just in like your general, on the home screen, you have missions, and when you succeed in completing the missions, you're given rewards. And a lot of times you're given like resources like tickets. You'll be given free pulls. I would imagine if you were just to, for a month, bank all of the free tickets you got, you'd have probably close to like 50 or 60 tickets, which is a really high number. And no other game is like that. Go play Epic 7 and tell me how many free pulls you're getting. You get 1 free pull daily. Aside from that, good freaking luck getting free pulls. They are not giving that many free pulls. So it's like, I mean, I super value all the resources they give you in this game. The last thing I want to get into before I kind of just talk about my final thoughts, I think it's really easy if you're somebody like me that just like loves having nice things in games. You could spend a lot of money on this game getting stuff you don't need. It's just like, how do I say it? Like, you are choosing. It's a choice you're making, right? If you, like me, just enjoy it, it brings you joy, you like to spend your money on things like that, then of course you should be doing the things that I would do, which is like getting the limited skins, or it's getting characters I'm not necessarily going to use just because I like the way they look. Or like, you know, trying to ace a character really fast because I want to get a high ace number, which is just something I'll talk about in the future. I would say getting tricked, or not tricked, but like people in the world chat will like overhype things, right? They're like, oh my god, the new characters will be insane, blah blah, right? They'll make it seem like you need to get them. In reality, you do not need to get them. Don't let people trick you into thinking that you have to do something, or you're not going to be competitive. That's not at all the case. The game is honestly really close to being balanced. They probably need to buff some units just so they could be more playable in high rank lobbies. I mean, some of it is just like people being meta followers, right? In a lot of games, people just kind of follow the meta. Oh, people are playing this unit, so they're probably like the best. That's in every game, and a lot of times there are a lot of units that they're not using that are strong, but they're just not meta, so people don't use them. I think in this game, truthfully, there are some characters that are just like pretty underwhelming. And to be fair, to the developers' credit, they do try and balance the game. They have patches and they do updates where they are trying to find a balance, and it seems like they are taking the feedback from people seriously. Which again, I love how involved with the community they are. So yeah, there definitely is a meta. I think that you do need to have some of the meta characters to be competitive, but to have everyone or to get the new ones, you know, that's a choice. You do not need to. If you want to because it makes you happy, or you love the game and you love the way the character looks and you want to get them, by all means. But just don't think you absolutely need to, because you could play this game spending money only on the bare essentials and climb really far. So I would say my final ending notes on this is that do not overcommit resources early on to units that you're not 100% positive you're going to use in the future. Of course, you're not a magician, you don't have a magic 8 ball, you can't go in and figure out, you know, when you're spending the resources, what you're going to do in the future, what the future you want. You just need to have some foresight, put in the work, do a little bit of research, and figure out what you think you're going to want in the end. And of course, if you're wrong, you're wrong. That is what it is. But at least you did your part, you did your due diligence, and you tried to mitigate how much waste there will be, because there will be waste. You want to mitigate it as much as possible. I would say for most people, you do not need to worry about chasing every banner, every limited release, every new character drop. You don't need to be worrying about that. For the most part, unless it brings you joy, you do not need to be doing all of that. The game is extremely generous with the resources they give you, and I would just say that's the big picture. That's really all I have for this. I love the game. I'm going to continue and get more into depth about like the comps that you'd find in competitive, like the team composition. Sorry, I should say the team composition you'd find in competitive games. The general meta, and I'll go over the characters and which ones are meta, and I think there's so much I can get into in future videos. Honestly, that's why this was such a hard video to make, because I couldn't write a script. There are too many things I want to talk about, and it's just impossible to write a script, because every time I wrote something, I'd think of 10 other things I want to talk about. And truthfully, I could talk about this game for hours, and there'll never be a shortage of things for me to say. So I hope that this was at least semi-informative. I don't know. I just hope you give it a try. I hope you download the game. I hope you let me know if you download the game. You can add me. My name is Amid. It's case sensitive, so it has to be lowercase Amid, as you can see on the screen. So send me an ad, hit me up. I love to play. I love to talk about the game. I'm a huge nerd. And in the future, I mean, I do some coding. I'd have to talk to the developers about getting the API, but I would love to make a website that's stat-based. I don't know what APIs exist for them. I don't know if they even have statistics available that they're tracking. I would love, though, to make a website that kind of gives you, like, the ability to make a tier list of, like, the current highest win rate units, the current highest win rate affixes on things, which is, like, the bonuses or what I was describing earlier. I think there are so many cool, meaningful, fun stats. Oh my god, I'm joking. Sorry. I'm still dying. Okay. But anyways, I'd love to make a website like that because it doesn't exist, and for most games that does exist, so maybe one day I'll make one of those kinds of stat websites. We'll see. But anyways, I need to wrap this up. It's been 30 minutes. It's been crazy. I've been yapping a lot. And I hope that you come back for the other videos I make, because I plan to make them a lot. So cheers. Have a good night.